Let's start off with sort of a regional peg, because you are in Riyadh and you have clear targets and clear goals. What would you like to achieve next in Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, morning, Yusuf. As you know, Barrick has invested in Saudi Arabia already in a partnership with Ma'aden, the state mining company. And we have an investment in the Jabal Sayid copper mine, one of the lowest cost, highest grade mines around, actually. And we have a real commitment to grow our footprint in Saudi Arabia with a particular focus on the Arabian Shield in partnership with Ma'aden. Mm-hmm. And so after tomorrow, I'm on the way to the mine. So not only how to be at the conference, but more importantly to go and work with our team out at the mine, who've really done a great job managing the COVID crisis over the last 2 years.
Last time we caught up, you were explaining how you were trying to iron out some additional efficiencies in the business. Talk me through what you're seeing in terms of cost pressures, especially from the energy space, that could be complicating that push.
You know, I think, as you said in your introduction, there's a real commitment in Saudi to move towards renewable energy, and we're working with them on that. But Jabal Sayid is a classic example of efficiency beats inflation. When after the merger in 2019, we were producing 100 million pounds of copper at Jabal Sayid. Today it's 150. We've improved the throughput, dropped the grade, and lowered the cost. So that's a really good example of what the mining industry has to do. And you know, the mining industry often gets lazy in high costs, the upper end of the cost of the price cycles. Mm-hmm. And we've got to focus on it, and clearly inflation is one of the challenges, along with the many challenges to be a responsible miner nowadays.
Mark, good morning to you from London. It's Anna here. You've said, I think, this week that the risk to the gold price is up and not down. I know you focus on getting the stuff out of the ground and not trading it, but a lot of people are thinking that maybe gold prices go down from here because of the Federal Reserve increasing interest rates. Is that something that looms as a risk for you?
No, and because, you know, the point is there's many components to risk. And if you listen to the Fed and its outlook and how it's going to increase interest rates, it's going to get it's got a long way to go before you get real interest rates. And the critical thing here is we know, and there are not many people listening to this conversation that lived through the inflations of 40 years ago. But when inflation arrives, it's difficult to stop. It needs to be dealt with in a robust fashion, and I don't think there's political will around the world to do that. And then on top of that, we've got an overvalued market. Whichever component of the market you look at, people are worried about how you're going to store value, how you're going to manage your wealth. And so I think that all augurs well for a steady gold price, as I said earlier in the week, certainly with some upside risk.
Good morning, Mark, or good afternoon, Mark. I want to follow on that. You talk about inflation. So 2021 saw the highest inflation in 40 years. We're clearly an entirely new inflation dynamic that we haven't seen for decades, as you've talked about. Almost every commodity surged and had a record year, apart from precious metals. Gold had its worst year in 6. So why is gold the worst commodity for inflation this time around, and when will that change?
So, Mark, you say worst in so many years, gold, 3.6%. Come on, it's increased since 2016 by 72%. It stands up there with the best of the asset classes, and it's not overvalued. So, everyone sort of, and that's why people would like to see gold go down, because why they would like to feel that the rest of the global economy is in good shape. It's not. It's either too hot or it's really stressed. And whatever you think, we haven't done a good job in this around the world on managing COVID. We have allowed bubbles to develop the developed world or the richer nations have managed it internally, but what about the rest of the world? And how is it going to catch up? And so we live on a global planet. It's not sort of doesn't stop at the end of any coastline. And so we have a big responsibility to bring the whole of the humanity with us in managing the future. And we've got challenges like the E part of ESG. I think S is even a bigger challenge, and we need to embrace globalism. Certainly in the last 3-4 years, we've seen a deglobalization sort of politic.
Mark, I want to get to another issue that the company is facing, because you talked about a lot of the upside you're seeing here in Saudi Arabia, but then I look at your project in Papua New Guinea, which has been kind of an obstacle to you. Just run me through what kind of progress you've been able to make in the last couple of months there.
So it's not an obstacle, otherwise we wouldn't be there. It's a challenge. And I think it says a lot. If I just digress a bit to Tanzania, a lot of conflict between Acacia and the Tanzanian government. We stepped in there. We believe in partnerships. We rebuilt that partnership. And today it's really, and you saw BHP announce an investment into Tanzania. It's an amazing development when you get in and you embrace your host countries. And I think Papua New Guinea got itself into a position where it wasn't benefiting from its own mining endowment. And so that resulted in an attempt to sort of take away the asset. I've spent time with the Prime Minister. We've worked out a solution, a real partnership where everyone benefits. And that's what we do. That's the very core of what Barrick does. We're a global business. We're not one particularly focused on one nation, and we want to embrace our stakeholders. We recognize that host countries and communities are as important as our own investors.